race fans, and welcome to the second of two races for the 2025 Whelen Mazda MX-5 Cup presented by Michelin from Daytona International Speedway, which is raced today with sunshine, broken cloud, and the temperature on the track rising rapidly on the 3.53 mile circuit. Just off the beach inland at Daytona, 12 corners, of course using the majority of the high banks, but adding in that tricky infield section where these Mazda MX-5 excel, and the Le Mans chicane near the bus stop. That means a very long run coming out of those blue and yellow curbs all the way down to turn one, and that's where the slipstreaming, the drafting will be taking place. Slightly different look to the Le Mans chicane this year with the removal of the grass in the middle part of it. The grass coming into it went a couple of seasons ago. I'm John Hindorf from Mazda MX-5. Shea Adam is alongside me, and Shea yesterday gave us plenty of drama even before we got started. The rain came in and that meant we actually had to delay the start of the first race, and then Weston Workman couldn't get his car going and we had to have an extra lap of yellow before we went green.
Yeah, thankfully the extra lap of yellow was planned because all the cars were starting on the wet weather Michelins, but once we did see the green flag, it was Nate Cicero leading the field away with his former teammate Gresham Wagner sticking close to him into turn one.
Then an interesting strategical move pulled by the team. They thought it was drying up and they brought him in for slick Michelin tyres. It's not the work of a moment because they're all studded wheels.
Gresham Wagner with a mechanical issue later on in the race. He too pulled out from the lead, but this was not a rejoin opportunity. Gresham, defending two-time series champion, finished with the DNF.
Bryce Cornet going on the high side to take the lead in the silver car in the gathering darkness, but there was still more drama to go.
There was. It was Tyler Gonzalez who worked with Bryce Cornet and took advantage of a moment where Bryce slipped out of the lead to run to the front.
And then a fiery moment. This is very unusual to see. Fire in the engine bay from that 2-litre 180 horsepower engine, and that car, we will not see that today for Christian Hodland.
Yep, the BSI crew trying to get the car fixed but unable to do so. It was another BSI crew car that took the victory, with Tyler Gonzalez taking his third win at Daytona in 8 attempts. Very good record for Tyler, looking to try and do it again today. He starts in the, what is that, much further down position on the grid. P25.
Yes, indeed so. Very unusual to see that engine issue. The crew, you talk to them for Christian Hodland's car, they thought they'd just be able to slot a new power unit in there. They're all absolutely street stock. They're sealed by Mazda Motorsports. That's a venerable 180 horsepower 2-litre inline 4. But in fact, there's been quite a bit of damage done in that engine bay. And they feel now that they might actually be struggling to get that car fixed for the next race. They might have to go to a backup.
BSI, thankfully, they're moving their shop. They're just about 15 minutes down I-95, so it will be a much easier thing in the future for them. They thought that they could just plunk the car in a trailer, take it back to the shop today and get it fixed, but it's going to be a little bit of work for them.
It's a beautiful day to start the race under today. Almost no clouds in the sky. Track temperature 66 Fahrenheit. That is 19 Celsius. In the air it's 8 Celsius, so if you prefer 46. That is just going to go up and up and up. Let's hope everybody got their tyre temperatures right. Quick look at the Mazda starting grid. It's Nate Cicero for Sato Motorsport Group on pole position. Gresham Wagner will be alongside him in the black number 5 for Macumbi Michelin Racing. Behind them, Alex Bashura. What a weekend he's having for Spark Performance in that number 33. Missed a lot of the early sessions because of weather issues in this part of the United States, in the southern, slightly further south as well. Ren Messinger is the best of the rookies on the outside of row 2. Elion Meza and Ethan Tyler on row 3. Billy Cruz and Grant West on row 4. Jared Thomas, the number 96 car for JTR, is in 9th, 10th Parker DeLong, and just outside the top 10, another rookie Bobby Gossett, and then Sally Mott is the best of the female drivers in a very creditable 12th position. Todd Burras in 13, Frankie Barroso in 14, Cody Powell, Justin Adam Kuhn says, sorry, Justin, Glenn McGee, Bryce Cornet, Julian DaCosta, and Farhan Siddiqui, who also had some problems earlier on in the week with a steering arm problem on the Lightning McQueen car. That's your top 20. And Justin Adakonis is the words I was trying to get out of my mouth. I need another cup of coffee. That's how they'll line up, at least the top 20 of them for this record field of 35 cars coming to the grid, 36 as we start the weekend. The green flag is in the air. The 45-minute start as they cross the stripe, which they do right now. And we're underway. And straight away, that is Bashura in the wall and Wagner. This is a huge one right at the start. There's half the field, 3/4 of the field have gone into each other. Full course caution will have to come out. It may be a red flag here. Yep. And I think only Nate Cicero got away from that. It was Gresham Wagner from the outside of the front row and Alex Bashura from the inside of row 2 who got together and slewed up the track. Ren Messinger, I think, has got through, but there's a huge conflagration. Must be nearly a dozen cars that are in trouble at the start of the grid. Not what we wanted to see. We'll pick out some of the numbers, but it's at least half the field here as the AMR safety crew are on the scene already. They were getting up to speed, not up to speed at that point.
And the problem is that it started off with the first 2 cars in line. Nate Cicero, who moved over at no fault of his own. Gresham Wagner then getting into Alex Bashura, both cars who had been on the top side. Bashura gets a nudge from behind.
Yeah, absolutely right. It was a great start by Nate Cicero from pole position, and he was clear of it all, which actually meant that Gresham Wagner and Alex Bashura were together, although they didn't start on the same row of the grid. Yeah, it was a little touch from the inside of the, was that Ren Messinger who just touched?
I think it might have been Elio Meza getting into the back of Alex Bashura.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. Oh, using a very interesting look from our pit box that our NBC Sports colleagues will be using for the Rolex. There's the touch on down on the bottom side.
That is Elio.
And it is Elio in the purple car. And that started the chain reaction.
We have not yet gone to a red flag, but we will be going to a red flag situation because the AMR safety crew is blocking the track entirely.
Come down the pit lane. They could come down the pit lane.
Yep, they
that's
could.
That's the only thing.
Cars that are still there include Tyler Gonzalez. I believe that's Sally Mott down there. I saw Cody Powell's car as well. Farhan Siddiqui is there. Jeremy Fletcher involved in the backup car for MMR already this weekend. It's quite a few cars, and there's a lot of debris actually scattered in the grass as well. Carbon shards everywhere.
It's easier to tell you who got through than who didn't in the run down to turn 1. And Nate Cicero absolutely got through that. He was ahead of it all as it came through. And I think the car that started it all is in second. Yes, it is, with that little nudge. I mean, look, we're not apportioning any blame here. We're just trying to find out reasons.
Yes.
The good news is I can see an awful lot of drivers milling about.
Parker DeLong is getting out of the car on his own. Gresham Wagner is, his car is there. I do not know if he is still in that car. I know his mom and dad are here. His mom's always listening to us. Justin Adakona says damage to the front end of his car. Farhan Siddiqui is out of the number 95 machine. We've got Frankie Barroso also involved. His car, number 76, is still stationary at that part of the circuit. And we've also got Glenn McGee stopped further up as well. It's a lot of cars as they are coming through the pit lane.
Yeah, I think that's intensely sensible. I think I saw Sally Mott just pulling away and going round turn 1. So she will have the opportunity to get back onto the back of here. Gresham is talking to the safety workers who are by the left-hand side, the driver's door. Huge amount of Mazda bodywork there. Also, with a really torn up car on the high side, the red and white car.
Yeah, Sally has damage to the nose of her car. She did. I saw her come to a stop almost in a pit box and then was getting looked at before resuming.
Let me tell you then, as they came across the line in the pit lane, Nate Cicero from pole position leads, from Elio Meza in second, Bailey Cruz in third, Jared Thomas, Ren Messinger, Bobby Gossett's come through the field and picked his way through the carnage. Ethan Tyler, Grant West, Todd Burris, Nathan Nicholson, Bryce Cornet, Julian DaCosta, Jagger Jones in 13th, Ethan Goulart in 14th, Noah Harmon in 15th, 16th Ashland Speed and Sally McNulty. Add on to that the car that is still running of Sally Mott, which is the number 15 car. She may need to come into the pits for a little bit of remedial action, and indeed one or two people doing that now, including the number 28 pitting right across from us, that being Chris Haldeman for AAG Racing. But we are under yellow and the cars continue to circulate behind the Mazda MX-5 safety car. So if I didn't mention your favourite driver there, that means that probably they were involved in the wreck. In the pit lane, the Jeremy Fletcher number 22, the black car, that's getting new tyres on the front end. Also for right behind them for MMR is the number 23 Justin Adeconis car. And behind them in the pit lane is the Rafa number 81, the white car of Caroline Kanda. So they're still in this at the moment, as well as the clean-up continues on the front straight.
Ethan Goulart also getting a new right front Michelin, maybe a bit of bodywork damage to that car as well.
Now, I can tell you that Gresham Wagner is out of the car.
Good.
We know his family's here. They took time making sure he was all right. And I think he'll have to go at the infield care centre. Yes, he's making his way to the ambulance on his own 2 feet at the moment. Great work by the AMR safety crew, as ever.
Cody Powell also out of his own car unaided. And it's a rule within IMSA. If you're involved in an incident of any type and the safety crew doesn't automatically take you to the infield care center, you're responsible for getting yourself
to get there. Yeah, absolutely right.
So this is standard operating procedure.
So we are under yellow with still 38.5 minutes to go of a 45-minute race from a huge incident. Cicero getting away, and then a little tap on the back of Alex Bashura, who went up and hit the number 5, the blue and black car of Gresham Wagner, and from then on it was carnage. And there's just nowhere to go, Shea. At that point, everybody is so close to the car in front as the green flag has just flown and into the wall at first 2. So what did we get through? Maybe the first 8 or 10 cars, and then everybody behind that had to take avoiding action, and some did make the way through, some did not. Great look from the high camera.
Heather Hadley's car being towed off the track. That's sad to see. Heather was the best finishing woman in yesterday's race. Yeah,
great look at that from the high camera on top of the grandstand here. That is the famous rooftop Ray. Ray, happy birthday, mate.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, Ray is a legend in his own lifetime. Has for many, many years provided us with the overnight coverage on the main race here, the 24 hours, Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona. He is celebrating his birthday today. He gave me $50 not to say how old he was, so we won't.
Ah, fine. Well, I'll see you on the grid tomorrow, Ray, for our annual photo. I'm
only kidding. Age is only a number, and he is one of the great stars of all that we have here. Our camera operators, who are all motor racing enthusiasts, absolutely brilliant, best in the biz. And also we should say thank you as well to our replay team up at Concord, North Carolina. I say with great affection our tape apes, and of course the whole production team, who are just doing stellar work throughout the season again. Great season last year as well for Whelen Mazda MX-5 Cup.
Bad news for fans of Justin Adeconis. He is out of his car. It is in the pit lane. That must be front end damage that they could not repair in order to get him back out into this race. The safety crew is continuing to work diligently down at turn 1. And while we have an opportunity, let's say thank you to all of our safety crews and our marshals.
Bryce Cornet's car's still stationary in the pit lane as well, the number 65, after his best result ever yesterday. Weston Workman had a troubling day yesterday and a trying day yesterday. They're working on the left rear of the purple 13, a little bit further down the pit lane. Amazingly, after that huge multi-car incident, there are now only, I think, 6 Mazdas still to move.
Huh. I mean, we lost half the field. We lost 17 cars in that schmozzle. So very, very grateful that we have such good safety crews to be able to clean this up so quickly as well.
And also, you've got to say that whilst Whelen Mazda MX-5, some people would say was close to an entry-level formula, the FIA approved roll cage, the safety seats, the fire suppressing systems and everything else, there's no compromise in these cars. They are properly built. Yes, they do start life as a street stock Mazda MX-5, comes in from Japan, goes actually just down the road to the brothers Flis. Yeah, the two Flis brothers at Flis Performance. They basically strip the car down to its component parts. They put the engine to one side, which is then sealed by Mazda Motorsports, so there can be no jiggery pokery on that. Not that racing teams would ever do that.
Never.
But no, never. And then the car, basically, having been stripped down to a shell, is put back together again with over 250 race-specific parts, including the DSS-V suspension from Multimatic, the fuel system, racing wheels, different diff, and the SADEV sequential box, which is flat shift and auto blip down. This is quite a sophisticated amount of technology, quite a lot of sophisticated technology under the skin of what looks to be, it's just a MX-5 with a roll cage. That's what it looks like from the outside, and that is exactly how it's meant to look. But underneath beats the heart of a race car, and most importantly has all of the safety attributes of a racing car.
And it is a testament to Mazda that there are very few race cars that my mother would ever let me get in. And I've actually had the conversation with her of, Mom, would you be okay if maybe I was to drive one of these just at a track day, or, you know, just by myself? And, well, how safe are they? Let me show you.
Yes.
And then the answer was, yeah, I think that'd be okay.
Totally.
We just had 3 cars that came into the pit lane, which is normal because right now that is the way that we are perusing the track. But they stopped in their boxes. Todd Brewer is getting a new right front Michelin. They are looking at Ethan Goulart's right front once again. And Sally Mott getting more tape put on the nose of her pink machine from Hendricks Motorsport.
Also looking at the back right of Sally's machine as well. Looks like they've got a pry bar underneath the fender, the wheel arch.
Some unconventional ways to move race cars, but that's what we need at this point because we've run out of other cars. So the number 12 of Maite Caceres is getting a lift. The right front wheel is actually dangling below the car. We just had to try and separate Alex Bashira's machine from, I think that was Frankie Barroso. Those 2 cars actually stuck together, but it looks like they have been separated.
Thank you very much indeed to Mark Smith, who's running the show for us up at Concord, and our lead tape ape. And again, you might think that that's disparaging, but I say that with much love. And I know, having spoken to the guys when I had a visit up there later on, they take it in the way that it's meant. It's a very old TV way of referring to the replay clues. Our lead tape ape is Mark Smith for us this weekend. Ladies, gentlemen, we salute you all. Thank you very much for making Shay and I's jobs much easier and letting us make sense of that massive incident down to turn 1, which has kept us under the safety car for the last 13 minutes. But incredibly, I don't think we're that far away from cleanup. Whilst the Mazdas have been pulled, lifted, dragged, cajoled away, the sweeper's already been in there. The marshals have been out picking up the bigger pieces of debris, like the bumper covers and things like that. And having had, did you say 17 cars?
Yes.
17 cars
17
in that
cars
incident.
Involved, yes.
There are now only 3, call it 3.5 actually, because the one car is already being towed.
Okay.
But there are 3 cars that are still needing to be moved. We've got the teleloader type machine for Gresham Wagner's car, which that was never going to roll. So that's a really good way of moving that without doing any more damage. I really quite like that. We've got another flatbed from Steps, exceptionally experienced recovery partners here at Daytona International Raceway. So that flatbed is coming back as the teleloader delivers Gresham Wagner's car back into the pit lane. The Stars and Stripes machine is the car that I could see already hooked up, and that is now underway as well, as drivers are still coming carefully through the pit lane past the scene of that huge accident on the first lap. There's a bit of fluid down on the exit of the pit lane. What would be the stock car exit of the pit lane. We actually peel off to the left and use that little feeder lane that pops out just after turn 2, but we've already got the oil dry down on that, and that's being swept as well, and the blowers are standing by ready to go in and make sure that we can go back to racing as quickly as possible. Just a reminder, we're half an hour to go, 15 minutes down, and Nate Cicero has led every lap so far. It doesn't matter whether you're behind the Mazda MX-5 safety car in the Whelen colours. Wow, it's an interesting start and a heartbreaking start to some of the drivers. 17 caught up in the big accident right on the yellow line. It was the Alex Bashura 33 car that got tapped from behind, and from then, really, it was just about survival. There's one or two cars that picked their way through. Incredible piece of avoidance there by, now I'm going to say, well, was that? No, Fletcher was further up the field this time.
No, Fletcher was pretty far back.
I think that might have been Fletcher coming through there in the dark coloured car with the, normally he has a blue car, but it's black with the lighter coloured roll cage.
There was a car that sort of kangaroo hopped after the effect. I think that was Heather Hadley that wound up with the damage that ultimately wound up with her coming back on a forklift, unfortunately, for that car.
There are going to be some stories to tell in the MX-5 paddock.
There are going to be some fantastic onboard cameras.
Oh. There were drivers who got through that, who were down in the mid-20s, had a tiny little bit more time perhaps to react, or at least the incident was breaking up in front of them. But Jeremy Fletcher was into the pits to get some work done. Bryce Kerner was, Julian DaCosta. Peter Atwater somehow got through that in the yellow and green number 26.
Well, and we have a couple of new awards that we need to remember about this year. We've got the Penske Shocking Performance Award. That's the car that passes the most cars from their starting position to their finishing position. That should be pretty interesting to keep an eye on now, because
Nathan Nicholson came from 31st and came through the carnage.
And where did Noah Harmon start? Because I think he started behind Nicholson, and he is now up to P12. He's got more opportunity to pass as well. But we also have the Takumi Award, and that's for drivers over the age of 40. I think we only have 2 of those left in this race. We've got Todd Burris currently running in P9, and we've got Peter Atwater in P15.
Yeah, he started 33rd. McNulty started 32nd. What about Ashlyn Speed? She started 34th and came through all of what was going on ahead of her up to 13th position. So she managed to find a way through all of the incident.
And she is our Women's Scholarship Award recipient for this season. So coming in, first ever season running with Hendricks Motorsport. They have 2 of their cars still out and circulating. So they're going to be interesting to see if they can work together.
It's not that long a time, Shea, before you and I will be talking about the action on the streets of St. Petersburg, and some of the teams, some of the big teams. You always think, all right, big teams, big advantage. You've got lots more data, but in an incident like that, if you've got 3 or 4 cars to get fixed before the next race, there's going to be a lot of midnight oil burned in some of the mega teams in the Mazda MX-5 Cup paddock.
Only 5 weeks until we're on the streets of St. Pete, and St. Pete is a place where you like to have spare parts because
very good point.
There are walls everywhere. They're not there right now. The streets are still open. I drive on them regularly, but the problem is when they put the walls up, they don't exactly give. So not a bunch of runoff, and that could come into play. But thankfully, there's a nice long break of about 2 months after St. Pete before we resume at Barber Motorsport Park. Then going to Mid-Ohio in the first week of June, off to CTMP in July. And why not go to Canada in mid-July? I do it. I highly recommend. VIR in the end of August, one of my favorite courses. And then rounding out the season at Motul Petit Le Mans, Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta in the beginning of October. Really is a calendar that people look at and go, yeah, I want to be a part of that.
Well, we haven't been able to bring you any racing for the last 19 and a half minutes, but what we have seen is a quite extraordinary and brilliantly orchestrated cleanup from those 17 cars. That would have stopped many a race and it would not have restarted. We have got no Mazdas left on the front straight now. The sweepers, as I said, had already started. They're finishing up with the drying agent up on the wall. It's not on the racing line. And down into turn 1, there's a little bit on the racing line and a little bit off it as well. But I've got to say, that is an extraordinarily, brilliantly organised piece of rescue, recovery and cleanup. I've not seen anything better than that ever. And remember, this is not like Monaco. We don't have cranes to get the cars off. All of those 17 cars had to be moved by something other than their own motive power. And that has stretched our rescue and recovery to the limit, and they have stood up and taken that challenge. Brilliant stuff.
We had 11 cars that needed some extra help to be extracted, and that was done in less than 20 minutes time.
Yeah.
That's impressive. 17 cars total involved. 2 of them were able to get themselves back to the pit lane. A few of them are still circulating around with quite a bit of damage. But again, this is an opportunity for people. Mazda pays 1st through 10th money at the end of today's race.
Yeah.
You want to be out there. Even if your car is slightly damaged, just being there, that gives you a shot.
Biggest movers then. What about Peter Atwater? We thought he'd picked his way through. 33rd to 15th, 32nd to 14th for the 78 McNulty car. Aisling Speed, 34th to 13th. Also in that area, Nathan Nicholson in the top 10 from 31st. A little bit further down, driver from the Le Sarthe region of France, from Le Mans, Caroline Candace in the 81 car, 19th from 35th.
And here is a big moment because it's the first time that the cars have not gone through the pit lane. They have come across the start-finish line on the actual tri-oval. Now, there are still safety vehicles working down in turn 1. They are still blowing away some of the kitty litter that they put down to try and pick up the fluid. Not actual kitty litter, by the way, but that's just what we call it.
It works really well, though, kitty litter.
Works
if that's all you've got, and you've had a little oil spill on your garage floor,
just try it.
Old-fashioned concrete dust as well. I've used that in the past. Helps if you've got a sealed garage floor. One of the things I always like to do is get some grey paint or some dark blue paint on the garage floor.
Drivers, particularly toward the back of the field, trying to avoid the dust that is laid down. Not going to be possible, guys. Sorry, I need to break it to you. It goes all the way across the track. But our safety crew will most likely have that cleaned up by the next time they come around.
Yeah, that a safety car lap is just over 4 minutes, about 4 minutes 18, 4 minutes 20. And if we go green next time, that would leave us with a little, around about 18 minutes. A little over 18 minutes still to go. The Whelen MX-5 safety car been staring through the door mirrors at the mostly white Nate Cicero car. Let's run you through the positions as they'll come to the restart relatively shortly, either this time or next time by. I'm just keeping a weather eye on what's going on down at turn 1. So Nate Cicero, pole sitter, avoided the incident behind him Whelen Mazda was right in the middle of it. And was the bump on the rear of Alex Bashira's 33 car that set the incident in motion. Bailey Cruz right in there. Jared Thomas in 4th, 5th. Ren Messenger 6th. Bobby Gossett and 7th, Ethan Tyler. They were all, I think the first 7 or 8, maybe Grant West as well, they all got through before it started to go mad. And then behind that, there's nearly 20 cars in the midfield that got involved. Now watch for the 1 or 2 cars coming through here, Shea. Sally Mott gets fired off to the inside, but there are a couple of cars that got through. That black-white car got through brilliantly.
There was a moment where
that was Nathan Nicholson in the 56 car who weaved his way through. Watch the black, the number 56, black, white and red car. He started way down, he's checked up, he's checked up, he's checked up, and he weaves through the gap. I don't know how he did that.
And what heads-up driving from Sally McNulty as well, only in her 2nd race with us this weekend, comes to a complete stop, waits for the dust to settle before then finding a clear path to get through. That's heads-up.
Multiple hits for the Gresham Wagner car. He did get out of the car under his own steam, just waiting for Nathan Nicholson to pick his way through. He almost came to a dead stop as well. Left, right, which way do I go? I'll tell you what, I'll just wait for it all to calm down. Under 20 minutes to go. There will be one more lap of the safety car.
While we've got this opportunity behind the safety car, let's talk a little bit about our leader, Nate Cicero. Not so much for Nate and the awesome kid that he is, because we do love Nate, but for the sponsors that are on his car this weekend. He's running for Mazda Motorsports Group. Not a full season thing yet. Nate saying that there's potential for that to come into play, but the sponsors on his car are 3 charities. Nate representing Rangers Road, Vale Veterans Association, so both for soldiers who have come back. Vale Veteran Association, they do a lot with the veterans, obviously in Vail, Colorado. In the winter, they take them skiing. In the summer, they do hiking, rafting, all kinds of fun activities for these men and women. And then one that's very close to my heart, CKG Foundation. That's to help raise awareness for teen suicide, teen mental health, to try and help our youngsters know that they're not alone in the way that they feel.
They say motorsport is a game of inches, and sometimes it is, but what a difference a day can make. Yesterday, BSI Racing and Tyler Gonzalez coming through under yellow, having made the pass for the lead in the gathering darkness in that beautiful soul red car. And behind the Whelen Mazda MX-5 to get through and celebrate victory, the first of the season. In race 2, he's right in the middle of the big one on the tri-oval, and the 57 car from BSI Racing, classic Mazda. And that machine, I'm afraid, will take no further part. The Peacock pit lane box. Absolutely brilliant use of that camera by our team up in Concord.
It's a real shame for Tyler too, because the classic Mazda people are actually here this morning. I said good morning
it's
to them.
Orlando, isn't it? Yeah. So what's that? An hour down the road, an hour and 10, something like that. Well, the good news is the safety car lights are out. The last lap there was speeded up considerably by about 45 seconds, 48 seconds actually. So we are getting some heat back into the Michelin tyres. I said the track temperature would go up quickly, even if the air temperature didn't. It's now up to 79 Fahrenheit, which is a far more acceptable 26 Celsius. So even cruising around at safety car speed, they should be able to get heat into those Michelins as soon as we go back green, which will happen in under half a lap's time. Still a relatively chilly 10 degrees Celsius in the air. That's 50 Fahrenheit, but I think that's probably one of the higher numbers that we've seen this week. The biggest difference is there's nowhere near the wind that we've had, which was really, really chilly, and the wind chill factor was a factor up until today. All right, 17 minutes and counting. Shea Adam with me, John Hindorf, in the IMSA Global Broadcast Centre at the World Centre of Racing, Daytona International Speedway. Heroes, every one of our track cleanup, recovery, marshals and EMR safety crew. And somehow we've had 17 cars cleared up in record time, and that will give us plenty of time to go back racing. 16 minutes, 16 and a half minutes as we go back green, and it's a nice restart once again. Once again, Elio in second place, just right on the bumper of the car ahead as the top four have broken away. The red-white car of Jared Thomas in fourth position hugs the inside curb, side by side further back. Ren Messinger and Bobby Gossett trying to get back onto the front end, and now side by side on the restart, going down into the International Horseshoe. The two darker coloured cars are on the outside. That's Bailey Cruz, Elio Mesa in the blue and white number 27.
Ooh,
and it's going to be a drive-through for that incident responsibility at the start of the race for that number 27 car.
That is very harsh for Elio Mesa, the rookie coming into this weekend, but he was the car that got into the back of Alex Bashura, ultimately beginning all of the chaos. Spinning off in the middle of the grass is Ethan Tyler in the number 80 machine for BSI. He was running in very close company with Grant West, also in a blue car. Tyler dropping down to 18th position. Elio Mesa going to drop down to the back of the pack at this one. He was one of two rookies in the first group on the restart, one of four rookies in the top 6 on the restart.
Cicero then leading out now. Right up his tailpipes is the number 96, the red and white car.
Jared Thomas.
Half a second. It was timed at the last timing point. It's not half an inch at the moment. And Cruz right in behind them now. Was there a little bit of help? Yes, there was.
But that was self-induced.
Yeah.
Ethan Tyler was on the inside. He was squeezing the corner down, and Grant West had nowhere else to go. He was on the outside, but he had a right to be there.
Yeah, a little bit of dirt thrown up. It's been very wet in the last few days in this part of Florida. That incident under review at the moment for Ethan Tyler. So the leaders come through 2 by 2 by 2 onto the tri-oval. Good run here as here comes the number 27 car into the pit lane to have that penalty. Elio Mesa for BSI Racing. That leaves 5 cars at the front, all the way around the outside for Ren Messinger. This is a rookie. That was not a rookie move there. That was confidence. That was real confidence and real purpose in that brightly coloured car. The number 3 car now up into second, goes ahead of Jared Thomas, and that all came from him being very brave on the brakes coming into turn 1.
It did, and working with his teammate Bobby Gossett, the two MMR cars working together very nicely. Ren Messinger, the car that looks a bit like Tony Stewart's 2008 car because, well, it's on purpose, but with Bellhaven investment all over it. That's Ren Messinger now up in P2 ahead of 2-time series champion Jared Thomas. Then Bobby Gossett, another one of the rookies representing the Salty Dog Cafe, running in car number 44. And then it's Grant West, a man who has been to Daytona. This is his 3rd attempt at doing this race, but only his first start last night. So really pleased to see Grant getting up into the top 5, mixing it up and really looking for a first podium.
13 minutes, so still plenty of time for change here. 8-10 cars still nominally in that lead group. Who is working the draft better? I'm super impressed with Ren Messinger in that McCumbee McAleer racing car. Then again, the MMR management group are absolutely outstanding talent spotters. They look to junior karting, they're looking at other forms of saloon and sports car racing. Shortcut taken there by Bobby Gossett. He might get away with that because he didn't benefit from it. In fact, I think he's lost a couple of places, and I think he was avoiding other cars that were going wide coming out of the Le Mans chicane. Top 5 working together. If they stay like that, they will get away because there's fighting in the group behind.
Exactly. They'll be able to check out, but they need to not fight amongst themselves and be patient because there's still 12 minutes to go of this race. Now, Cicero has led every lap of this race, which means that the 8 we have completed, 9 now, that's going to give him the 10 bonus points. 10 bonus points also from pole position. And fastest lap right now is going the way of Jeremy Fletcher, but there is time to come.
Very, very tight indeed as they go across the line. And now into the infield again, this top 5. led by Nate Cicero, Messinger, Jared Thomas, Grant West, Bailey Cruz, then a little gap. Todd Burris, Jagger Jones has impressed me this weekend, jumping into this very competitive series. Jeremy Fletcher, fastest man on the track last time around. Noah Harmon and Julian DaCosta in 10th. Nathan Nicholson's lost a position. He's gone down to 11th. Then Bobby Gossett, who went wide, he's lost a couple of positions as well in 12th. And Carolyn Candice is now the best of the ladies, having avoided the incident. She's now up to 16th, just ahead of Ashlyn Speed, and they're battling tooth and nail for the best female driver and the $2,000 check that goes with it.
And in the time that you were reading the order of that second group, they were all mixing it up and changing around as they want to do. But the lead group continuing to check out. It is Nate Cicero, former MMR driver, driving with Ren Messinger, rookie and current MMR driver. And behind them, Jared Thomas, Grant West, and then Bobby Gossett.
What's interesting to me there is that there are two JTR drivers there. Bailey Cruz, the rookie, on the back end of that group in the number 11. His team mate and indeed team owner, JT, Jared Thomas, the JT of JTR. Magnificent. Now, the battle further down the field. Ashlyn Speed, Sally McNulty in 16th and 17th position, the 81 and 31 cars. That's going to go all the way to the end in that second group, just off the back of the second group. Bump drafting allowed as long as it is not constant bump drafting. A bump and a release, that's fine, but you can't be hanging on the rear bumper, and absolutely no pushing on the corners, the pit maneuver as it's called. It's taught to local law enforcement officers. None of that on the high banks. That's what race control are looking for.
It's called bump drafting.
Yeah.
You bump and then you back off.
Not contact.
Not contact.
Not constant contact drafting, because first of all, that would be too difficult to say.
Exactly.
Weston Workman's getting his way back through the field as well.
He's 2 laps down.
Again, he was 2 laps down yesterday.
But he's still mixing it up, and he's still able to work with his other BSI teammates that are still in the race, such as Jagger Jones.
Good point. Looks like there's a bit of damage to Weston's normally immaculate purple number 13 on the left rear. I think I could see part of the Michelin tyre that I should have been able to see. Looks more like a late model on dirt.
And a bit of damage to the right front of Julian DaCosta's yellow machine. I actually talked to Julian yesterday about the number change, the livery change, the change, as it is for Julian. And he said that when he went to wrap his car, yellow was the only color they had. And he kind of likes it. So I said, thank you for picking a different yellow. And he said, it wasn't my choice. Sometimes it just works out like that.
We're keeping an eye on a couple of major scraps in the field at the moment with 8.5 minutes to go. The battle for the lead. Ren Messinger just sitting in behind Nate Cicero, who has led from the green flag, and that huge incident. He's had to negotiate 20-odd minutes behind the safety car and keep his concentration for the restart. Messinger just hits too much curb going into the Le Mans chicane at the far side of the circuit from us, and that cost him a little ground, but Jared Thomas has eased his way up to the back of the second place car. That's eased the second place car up to the leader, and behind them in 4th position, Grant West is up there as well. We've lost for the moment Bailey Cruz. He's just dropped off the back of the lead group, so the top 5 becomes the top 4.
Incident involving Ethan Tyler and Grant West for that moment where Grant West went off at the kink in the infield. No further action, as Grant West is now giving a little bit of air to the front 3 cars. Ren Messinger pulling way out of line. He's looking to try and go around the outside of Cicero into turn 1. That's not going to work, rookie.
It worked for him earlier on, but this time he's left the door open on the low side, and through comes the number 96 car, the red and white machine of Jared Thomas. He slots in to second place. Oh, and guess what? Bailey Cruz just latches back onto the rear of that car. Messinger pushed out wide at the International Horseshoe. Will go actually over the white line on the exit. Won't get track limits called for that though. Nate Cicero has endured all of the pressure without flinching, without the bat of an eyelid, as through Bailey Cruz on the number 3 of Ren Messinger, and here comes Jeremy Fletcher leading what was the second group. Sure, we're going to have 10 or 12 cars, maybe more, in that lead group. as we race to the checkered flag with 6.5 minutes to go.
And our lead group, we have Mazda Motorsports Group, JTR Motorsports Engineering, Spark Performance in the top three. 3 different teams, and 2 of which are not the big powerhouse teams, if you will. Mazda Motorsports Group and Spark, they don't have the big haulers that are all shiny like everybody else. They're the underdogs in this situation. This is wonderful racing.
Meantime, there's a new 16th place driver. Why am I telling you that? That's because Ashlyn Speed's got ahead of Carolyn Candace, and that is the battle for the $2,000 check for the best female in the field.
And Todd Barris is currently in 7th position, so he would be taking the Takumi Award if it stays like it is right now.
Ren Messinger still the best of the rookies, but Bailey Cruz and Bobby Gossett now in that lead group again. 5 3/4 minutes to go. Nate Cicero just likes to see a clear racetrack, doesn't he? That's all I can think of. Yeah. He's not phased at all by being in front. Now, when we come down to the last couple of laps, will there be some fun and games? Will there be some tactics? Do you want to be leading, coming out of Le Mans chicane on the final lap?
Well, look at what Tyler Gonzalez said about last night's victory. He didn't want to be leading when he was, but he sure is glad he was when the yellow came out.
True enough.
Don't know that you can afford to take the chance.
That is a very fair point, well made, Ms. Adam.
Thank you. It's my first day.
Down towards the heavy braking area into the long right-hander at the International Horseshoe. Sunshine and a track temperature now of 77 Fahrenheit, 25 Celsius. This might be, I tell you what, there'll be some of the engineers on the pit lane will be thinking, thank goodness we weren't green all the way through here, because we started with a track temperature of around about 11, 12 Celsius, and it's now 25.
There's been a penalty, so somebody else will be getting hot under the collar, not just the track. Grant West, who is currently running in 3rd for Spark Performance, incident responsibility with the 44 of Bobby Gossett. He's having a 10-second time penalty added to his final result. So even though he is 3rd on the racetrack, we can effectively make him disappear because he would be finishing P16 if it were to stay as it is right now. Yeah,
P15, actually.
P15.
He would just be behind Peter Atwater, who's in 15th at the moment. Everybody else would move up. Carolyn Candace, there's just a little bit of a gap, 4-second gap between Peter Atwater and Carolyn, which means that the female check has changed hands again between the number 81 and the number 31, the Rafa Racing Team and the Hendricks Motorsport. That is a cracking battle that is going on down the field, and it would be best finishes in those positions for both of those drivers if they were to stay where they are now. There is that battle further down the field. That is Messenger down on the low side. That's not going to get it done. He was hung out to dry there. Weston Workman not in this fight because he's 2 laps further down. He brings Bailey Cruz through with him, and they're going onto the front, right under the yellow lines by Weston Workman. He's laps down. Really doesn't need to be in this fight. If he causes an incident here, that's not going to look good. 3 wide and sideways for the 50 car, which has already got the penalty. And that is even worse news for Grant West. He was going to have 10 seconds added on. That's going to drop him way, way down. But 3 wide in the middle of turn 1 heading towards 2 was never going to work, even for MX-5. What about 3 wide coming through the International Horseshoe? How'd you like that? And Weston Workman getting involved here. He's having fun. Shows the kind of performance potential he's got, but he is 2 laps down here. When is it appropriate for him not to be in this fight?
He's getting his practice in. He's learning what it's like to drive his race car against these people with whom he's going to be contending for the championship. Because who was he 3 wide with? Well, that was Jared Thomas going into turn 1, and then it was Jeremy Fletcher further around. I'm not sure that wasn't Bobby Gossett getting into the side of Grant West, and that is who he's got the penalty for. Grant has the penalty for hitting, was Bobby Gossett.
It was Bailey Cruz in the number 11.
It was Bailey.
It was Bailey Cruz in the number 11 that had the contact. Now, how will race control see that? Cicero leading from Messinger back into 2nd again. It changes every time we look away. As they cross the line, it was Thomas, Fletcher, Burrow, Messinger, and now it's Nate who leads it.
This should be white flag as they come across the start-finish line this time, because we have 1 minute and 45 to go.
Great move by the 96. And Jared Thomas puts him back in the position that he was when he crossed the line. 92 seconds to go. It's a 129-second lap. And look at the top side. Here comes the top side. The train is leaving the station. One more lap to go. And Nate Cicero will not lead this lap. This is the first lap he has not led in the last 43 minutes. And that three-car train, as they went across the line, Jeremy Fletcher, Burris, and that's the 13 of Western Workman, who's right in there as well. He's not in the fight here, but he could influence the result.
And Todd Burris is P2. After all that, Todd Burris is up into the top 2. This is a man who used to race Mazdas. He was in the series for a very long time, about 10 years ago. He's back, and he's looking at potentially winning this.
There's some big movers at the sharp end of the field, no more so than Jeremy Fletcher, who's come from 26th position. Nathan Nicholson from 31st is currently in 6th. I suspect that could change before the end of the race. And what about the 10th place car? That started in 30th position. We've got Peter Atwater in 14th from 33rd, and still Ashland Speed and Carolyn Candace, they've swapped positions again. They started 34th and 35th. They're in 16th and 17th position. That was courtesy of 17 cars going out of the race at the drop of the green flag. But some absolutely outstanding driving to avoid the accident, and that's why we've got so many big movers.
We have 20 cars that are remaining on the lead lap and 15 that are running within 8 seconds of one another. That means 15 cars could potentially win this race. Keep an eye on Julian DaCosta, who's running P15. Last year he was swallowed up at the checkered flag. Could be different this year.
Western Workman leads the line but does not lead the race. He's taken a lap back from those behind him, but it's the battle behind that's important. And down on the inside, Jared Thomas gets a brilliant run out of the Le Mans chicane.
Watch Cicero.
This is not going to be over yet. Big bump on the leader as they come on the low side. Cicero was hung out to dry a little bit. He got a good run but didn't have a dancing partner. Now they come up to the back of Western Workman. The checkered flag is in hand. Is it going to be Thomas? Is it going to be Burris? Messenger, I think, is just a little bit out of it. Is the dive on the inside underneath the yellow line as they go across the line. It's Thomas by the barest of margins. A classic Whelen Mazda MX-5 Cup finish, with Jared Thomas taking it from Todd Burris, JTR from AAG, McCunley-McAleer Racing's rookie Ren Messenger, who ran at the front of the field all day, is on the third step of the box. Nathan Nicholson from so far down is in 4th position, started outside the top 30. Jagger Jones gets another good finish in the bright green 86. He's 5th from Jeremy Fletcher in 6th in the backup car. Nate Cicero, who led all those laps, only 7th, and Noah Harmon in 8th. Gossett and Atwater makes up the top 10. How close was it on the line? Could Burris maybe have pulled out a tiny little bit earlier? The leader was all the way down on the yellow line. That's his prerogative to do that. It was maybe a quarter of an MX-5, just up to the front wheel of the leader, but that wasn't close enough for the number 58 of Todd Burris. The margin of victory, 0.038 of a second.
That was fantastic. What a great end to a not
difficult.
Great start.
Yeah, totally.
That really made up for it. And Todd Burris, welcome back to this championship. He definitely brought it today after having a little bit of misfortune in yesterday's race. But Jared Thomas, 2-time series champion, he's won this race now.
He's enjoyed that.
Oh, yes. This is his 3rd victory at Daytona International Speedway. And I've said it before, the champion has come out of a Daytona winner. Is Jared Thomas going to be our 2025 champion?
Well, Tyler Gonzalez yesterday,
yep. Jared
Thomas today. History tells us you do well here, you do well in the championship. We'll head off to St. Petersburg at the last weekend of February, heading into March. Jared Thomas, the unofficial results as it stands at the moment, will stand on the top step of the podium and go to Mobile One victory lane. Todd Burris and Ren Messinger make up the other steps. Ren, the best of the rookies, magnificent drive for him. He was in the fight all day at the qualified high and stayed in that front battle. Further down the field, there's some great stories there, and Ashland Speed eventually gets the decision over Caroline Candas. They both came up from 34th and 35th. Everybody behind that had problems. 17 cars involved in the big one at the start of the race, and there's some big names who have not scored well today. I'm not even certain how we decide the finishing order of those cars that didn't get down to turn one. Is that the starting order as they cross the line?
No, it's whoever made it the furthest. In fact,
you might have to get tape measures out here.
Yep, that will be something for race control to examine. But for today, Jared Thomas doing exactly what he needed. He leaves, as by my unofficial math, the championship point leader after this one, and it is very tight. After everything that happened yesterday, Jared's going to be happy with that, at least from today.
Yeah. I don't think anybody has had a perfect weekend
Nope.
this weekend, but there's been some fantastic performances, Shay.
Todd Burris, as our Takumi Award winner from today's race, was looking for redemption after yesterday. He definitely got it. And the best finishing woman, did it wind up being Ashland Speed? I believe it was.
That changed about 4 or 5 times in the last couple of laps. The best part of coming to Daytona International Speedway and competing on this historic circuit is the short drive underneath the Rolex Arch and into Mobile One victory lane, and that drive from JTR's team owner and team leader Jared Thomas. He takes race 2 in style with another blanket finish on the high banks. Well, what a weekend. Started with some inclement weather and a race into the darkness. Won yesterday by Tyler Gonzalez here. It was the incident at the start of the race. Alex Bashura getting shunted up into the wall, and then absolute carnage. Brilliant work by the cleanup crews and our AMR safety team. Got us back to racing, and what a race it was. Right at the end, 0.038 of a second, as Jared Thomas takes the victory and the championship lead heading to St. Pete at the end of February. Shea Adam was alongside me, John Hindhoff. Bye for now.